Okay, so I'm going to cover this tweet by Matthew Dimitri, and I can't remember, but I think that Matthew Dimitri, there might actually be some issues that progressives have with this guy, but I can't remember. But the clip, if you take that aside from whatever is going on with Matt Dimitri, is spot on. Jimmy Dore in 2016, don't be afraid of a Trump presidency. All of a sudden, we're all going to turn into a bunch of Nazis. It's not going to happen. Well, I think we all know what history tells us differently in that regard, and it happened the day after the election. The day after the election, hate crimes rose immediately. I don't know how short-term everybody's memory is, but hate crimes rose immediately the day after the election. And all the dog whistling and the signaling and everything else, we had the most volatile, dangerous presidency in our lifetimes, where he absolutely emboldened the white supremacists in this country. And I will play the clip for you so that you can see it. But Jimmy Dore clearly was pushing this stuff out the entire time. I think that Jimmy Dore still probably isn't well known by most of America, but his partnership with Tucker Carlson keeps getting onto that show. Most certainly is getting him a wider audience and a much more white nationalist audience. So here, I'll play it with sound now.
Afraid of a Trump. Don't be afraid of a Trump president. The whole country, all of a sudden, we're all going to turn to a bunch of Nazis. It's not going to happen. Turned out that the certain fractions of the Boogaloo Boys that he belongs to, they were started because they were a reaction to the Proud Boys, and they were anti-racist. And one of the things that you had to be in a Boogaloo Boy was you couldn't be racist. That I didn't know that. He also said he was providing security for the Black Lives Matter protesters. That's been documented. They did that. He's also pro-LGBTQ. I was
what
like,
what do they stand for?
I thought you guys are fucking nuts.
Right.
So, but he's a gun guy. He loves guns.
They wear Hawaiian shirts.
They wear Hawaiian shirts, and they love guns. But
you can't wear Hawaiian shirts anymore because people think you're a Boogaloo
right.
Boy.
They think you're a Boogaloo. So, but the Boogaloo Boys were anti-Trump, anti-cop, police brutality, anti-imperialism, anti-war, pro-LGBT, and pro. That's what that guy told me. You're pointing out that they're going.
Okay, before we go into the next portion of this, Rod Weber has some backstage footage, basically, of when he was being interviewed by Jimmy Dore and questioned Dore on his entire belief system behind what was going on with that Boogaloo Boy. Basically, that was just straight up gaslighting. And that's a statement on Joe Rogan, too, that he went ahead and accepted that as fact. And that Joe Rogan obviously is out there pushing his own kitchen cocktail, or whatever they're calling it, of trying to be Dr. Rogan to all the anti-vaxxers in town. So, they're two peas in a pod of spreading misinformation and trying to gaslight us and confuse their audience, to tell their audience that they're something that they aren't, and say that about white supremacist groups too. So let's continue.
Through the social media chats of people who have different political associations than they do, and they're trying to expose them. People with no money and no power. And here's one of the guys who are doing it, who's going through that document dump that they got from Gab.
Just the other day, the Young Turks, Jimmy Dore, who is a leftist. He's an honest leftist. Okay, I know Spurgs are going to be, well, he said this about white people once. Whatever. He actually praised Tucker Carlson the other day because he said Tucker Carlson is the only cable news person that will bring on real socialists, real anti-capitalists, real people like Mark Blythe, and even agree with them on certain important issues. He said, you can't even get that on MSNBC, much less CNN. So he says that, like, his point was that whatever you think, he said he kind of hand waved the accusations that Tucker Carlson's a white nationalist.
But what is the book?
That, first of all, Tucker Carlson invites people onto his show who are posing as leftists, but are really spouting GOP talking points. I have not watched him in years at this point because the little bit that I did watch back in 2016, it seems like any sort of rational guest that he had on his show, he would just do his puzzled look and just try and talk them down. And so the people that he invites onto his show who he agrees with, he's already set the table there. They are in agreement with his philosophies. So these are people who are signaling to you that they are white nationalists. And he loves Tulsi Gabbard. He has her on all the time. He acts like he has a schoolboy crush on Tulsi Gabbard. But he also brings on, he likes to bring on Jimmy Dore, too.
Boogaloo Boys.
I asked him what the Boogaloo Boys was. He said they were a response to the racist right-wingers, and they're not racist right-wingers, and they're anti-war, and they're anti-cop.
So Jimmy interviewed a Boogaloo Boy who was like very pro-left culturally on a bunch of issues, and an
He said like pro-LGBT, pro-BLM, all this stuff.
Okay, well, none of that's true. None of that's true. And it's very easy for somebody who's trying to indoctrinate new followers to join their organization by just straight up lying. And then once you get in there, you get their brainwashing material, because that's what Jimmy Dore is doing right now and has been for years, is trying to brainwash people into his psychotic thought processes. I don't know if he's getting Peter Thiel money too, or what the deal is, but he is pushing every single worst idea possible for progressives to be successful with pushing progressive legislation in America. And everything he touches just leads you right back to supporting white supremacy. So it is very disturbing to me that there are still many progressives and progressive leaders who actually give this guy the time of day.